Ladies and gentlemen, kicking here, welcome to the daily update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is up about 0.86% there. On the S&P Nasdaq 2.43%, semiconductor 8.6%, Dow flat, Russell 2000, transport, banks, energy, biotech, healthcare, home builders, utilities, retail, emerging market, every single sectors are some green heavily and some are red today. Bitcoin up, gold, silver miners are down, dollar up, oil down, treasury bond down, the rates are up, VIX is down about 5%. There, let's stick with S&P 500 ETF. Spider 65-minute chart. Here, so this is where we closed yesterday. It looks like we actually saw that gap up this morning here, and I think that gap up fueled by the semiconductors today. Notably, Nvidia is up 27 some percentage for the day after the earnings report last night. Semiconductor average up 8%. A lot of the semiconductor stocks are up quite a bit, and with that, S&P 500 made a move. However, there was a lot of question, today on Twitter that is this an island up gap? Well, first of all, it could have been because this is where we gapped up. This is where we opened right here. You see that? If we would have came down to maybe even here, because remember there was down gap right here. You see on that first hour, entirety of the down gap from a couple days ago, that down gap was filled, and so there was no longer an island up gap. However, the 50%, but remember this is where we closed yesterday, so you can see there's a gap right here. So the 50% up gap from this morning is open, but the rest 50% has been closed, and that 50% had to be open for the island up gap to be valid. So there's no island gap. Okay, in mind though, buyers do have their own island up gap already here, since you see this. So that's a official island gap here. As you can see, that there's gap down, gap up, so that they do have their own island up gap. If they would have made another island up gap on top of that, that would have been very strong. However, first of all, I think buyers should be celebrating the fact that this island up gap has been protected. Now we have another layer of protection, which is this up gap. This up gap is protected. This up gap is sustained, despite the fact that we did see that first and second hour decline. However, the micro-term moving average here, that micro-term moving average has been declining ever since then. This entire last several days or so, prices were deteriorating, and that micro-term has been reclaimed and reprogrammed on that first hour. As you can see, the micro-term acting as support first hour, second hour, and third hour. We see these upper wicks here. Bears really try to fill that up gap from this morning. Not only had the micro term though, the long term was here, mid-term was also in that vicinity. The presence of these moving averages, because of the gap up, I think it was providing that kind of a double support in that vis. And not to mention, I've been tweeting things out last couple of days that we are right on that longer term uptrend support line right here. As you can see, coming all the way from mid-March to late March and early April there. And then this is what happened. Remember, that island up gap happened after it hit that rising uptrend support here, that pink dotted line, right? And that's exactly where we hit yesterday, right? That's exactly where we hit yesterday, and we gapped up again. So you cannot just disregard some of these levels, especially when these levels been getting respected. You can see since March. So it's been about 2-3 months here that bulls been really utilizing this uptrend support. They even made their own island up gap through that, and with another up gap right on the rising uptrend support, bulls were able to reclaim the micro-term moving average on the first, second, and third hour, retested it, protected it, and then you can see on the 4th, 5th, 6th hour, short term, that's the green dotted moving average, is working as new support there. So it looks like if we can see a follow through, this looks more like a bull flag here above the micro term and short term. If we can see a follow through to the upside, at least in the first 2 hours of tomorrow morning session, it will need to hold above the short term and micro term for that to play out, and you need to see some strength in the first couple hours. However, if we do lose the micro term and the short term going into tomorrow, bears going to wanna retest that 413 gap area, right, and trying to threaten the bulls that they want to fill this gap. Thankfully, though, we have the long term and the midterm moving averages just underneath that, trying to protect this up gap. Let's check out that oscillator. So the oscillator is actually has crossed up after hitting the oversold level. So yesterday you can see we got near to that oversold. It's not, we actually hit, we weren't quite there to extreme oversold, that, you know, this line would be extreme oversold, but it got to that pretty close to that level, so it's considered oversold. Instead of seeing any sort of whipsawing action like this or like that, we actually saw a clean reversal there on the oscillator. So now that oscillator is advancing and following the, or favoring the buyers, while the price stays above the micro term and the short term, I have to say benefit of the doubt goes to the buyers, as long as it bulls can see a follow through and hold above the micro term and the short term moving average in the first 2 hours of tomorrow morning. I'm gonna come back for you. We'll reassess the situation. Enjoy your evening and good luck trading tomorrow.